Growing up, I had always been around nature, hiking in the woods, swimming in the ocean, road tripping to national parks, raising dogs, chickens, and rabbits. I grew up having a connection to the earth. Because of this, I noticed the changes. It didn't snow until later in the year, the summers were hot and the grass died, and the streams I used to play in ran dry. For many years I'd called myself a lover of the environment, and I was worried about these changes. Some people might think it's no big deal, though. Besides, what could go wrong if the Earth warms just 1 degree Celsius?
Everything! I mean, think about it. We live in a world with so much uncertainty with, climate change, civil unrest.
The only thing uncertain right now is what college you're going to.
Miles, it's really not that complicated. Go to a good college, get a job, and die.
Unfortunately, many people think, well, if humans have survived almost 300,000 years on this planet, why should I be worried about extinction? But humans haven't actually been around that long. An author by the name of John Green wrote about this phenomenon in an essay titled Humans' Temporal Range. A temporal range is how long a species has to live on planet Earth. In one part of this essay, Green uses a 24-hour day to show how long humans have actually been around.
If you imagine the 4.5 billion-ish year history of Earth as a single 24-hour day, Earth formed at midnight. The moon was formed by a huge impact with another planet around 12:10 a.m. The first single-celled life appeared around 4 in the morning. It's not until 1 p.m. that the first eukaryotic cell appeared, when one cell swallowed another, and then the two managed to form a symbiotic relationship that eventually allowed for cells to have nuclei and mitochondria and so on. Multicellular life appeared around 6 p.m. Just before 9 p.m., the first jellyfish come along, as do early vertebrates and many other creatures during the so-called Cambrian explosion. Plants started growing on land at 9:52 p.m., dinosaurs went extinct at 11:41 p.m., and then, a few seconds before 11:59 at night, humans show up.
In the perspective of a 24-hour day, humans have been around for less time than it takes to brush your teeth or pour a bowl of cereal. I find it fascinating that even though we've been around for such a short time, we have changed the world beyond recognition. Entire species have gone extinct, whole forests have been cut down, and even the ozone layer has been compromised. Humans are incredibly smart enough to create artificial intelligence that can do most jobs better than we can, develop vaccines for diseases that have been killing people for thousands of years, and even send people into outer space and safely bring them back. But our inventions come at a cost. The first industrial revolution in the 1700s drastically transformed the way that goods are produced. Machines could make products 8 times faster than any human could. Although it made a major impact on society, it didn't make nearly as much of an impact on the earth as the second revolution, which created skyscrapers, telephones, plastic, fossil fuels, light bulbs, and the unprecedented movement of people using cars and airplanes. It created things that our society now heavily relies upon, but maybe a little too much. All of these things led to an incredible amount of greenhouse gases that flooded the atmosphere, changing the world as we know it. This timeline of the Earth, beginning in the early 1900s, shows a relatively cool Earth, but as time goes on, and more carbon is released, the Earth gets hotter and hotter, no longer just affecting the areas that produce it, but spreading it across the globe. As John Green states later in his essay,
average global temperatures have already risen a degree Celsius above pre-industrial levels, and we know from the fossil record that sudden changes in global temperature are often calamitous. We don't feel near the level of urgency that's appropriate.
Another graph from 2006, far after the Industrial Revolution and when the world is heavily reliant on fossil fuels and plastics, showing the 3 large emission spots: North America, Europe, and Asia, producing large amounts of carbon and the Earth's natural winds spreading it around. The largest producer of greenhouse gases is actually cars. 300 million people in the United States own cars, many of them driving them every single day. Due to this, 5 to 9 metric tons of greenhouse gases are produced per person per year. This adds up really fast in the long run. Due to greenhouse gases heating up the world, it also affects our water supply. The warming temperatures cause ice sheets to melt and sea levels to rise. With this comes the mixing of salt and fresh water, making it undrinkable, and increased urban runoff, causing pollution to enter water sources. Nearly half of the world's population suffer from water scarcity. Only 0.5% of Earth's water is usable, and this source is quickly depleting. There have been many efforts to try to increase water conservation, like not watering lawns during dry spells and encouraging businesses to recycle water. There are many people in the world who have a single source of water, which they drink from, wash their clothes in, cook with, and dump their waste. This causes many people to contract illnesses and diseases. The lack of water also leads to food scarcity. With the decrease of fresh water and limited rainfall in certain areas and increased global temperatures, we can see massive droughts that kill the microbiome of the soil. There are billions of microorganisms that live in dirt. They keep the dirt healthy, and as well as the plants that live in the soil. Without soil, no plants can grow and no food can be produced. A wide variety of plants are needed to support an ecosystem. This is called biodiversity. Biodiversity is when different plants and animals work together to keep an ecosystem healthy. This also keeps us healthy by giving us nutrient-dense food, clean water, and clean air. Without biodiversity, we wouldn't have the food that we need. Humans simply cannot be healthy without clean water, food, and air. In recent years, we have made many clean energy sources, including wind, solar, nuclear, hydro, and biomass, which all contribute to the reduction of carbon emissions.
Renewable energy sources are classified as any source of energy that can naturally replenish itself, such as wind, solar, geothermal, or hydro. Many people are hesitant to make this switch to green energy due to its high initial cost and sometimes dependency on the weather. Such as these solar panels behind me, they cannot produce energy without the sun. We cannot predict long-term in the future, rain, clouds, or snow, so many people do not want to make the switch, seeing that they are unreliable. Renewable energy sources are a much better source of energy than non-renewable ones, due to the fact that we're relying on an infinite source of power, such as the sun, wind, or water, which are always occurring no matter what. Non-renewable energy sources rely on non-renewable sources, such as coal or oil, which we can drill from the ground, but eventually we're not going to have any more of it. Or there will be so little of it that it'll be hard to find, and it will be much more costly to try to drill out the ground.
If the environment is not protected, we could see nearly half the world's GDP disappear. Many economies rely on forestry, food, and ecotourism to survive. Without biodiversity, these fields could deplete and cause havoc for the economy. We could see up to $340 billion disappear if biodiversity continues to decline at the rate it is now. However, we can fix this. If we put money back into nature, it will eventually start to benefit us. Experts believe that for every dollar we spend restoring the environment, we would gain $9 for the economy. So now that we know how climate change happened, what it did, and what we are doing to fix it, we are still wondering how much time we have left. Is our temporal range something that is set in stone, destined to be no matter how much we try to interfere? Or can we fix what we have done? Can we give ourselves more time?
For most of my life, I've believed that we are in the fourth quarter of human history, and perhaps even the last days of it. But now, I've come to believe that such despair only worsens our already slim chances. We must fight like there is something to fight for, like we are something worth fighting for, because we are. And so I choose to believe now that we are not approaching the apocalypse, that the end is not coming, and that we will find a way to survive the coming changes.